What does your family do on those stay indoors rainy afternoons? Or on those cold, blustery winter days? Families who are content to let television do its thing often find themselves at its mercy for a choice of entertainment, while people who want television to do their thing entertain themselves with Odyssey, the electronic game of the future, and the family's best foul-weather friend. Odyssey can be attached to any brand television receiver with a screen size of 18 to 25 inches, either black and white or color. And an ordinary screwdriver is the only tool needed to attach this Odyssey antenna game switch to the antenna terminals on the back of the television set. Once the antenna game switch is attached, you can select the TV position for regular television viewing or the game position for playing your favorite Odyssey game. Odyssey is played through an unused VHF channel of your television set and operates on 6 common-size C-cell batteries which come packed with the unit. Simply connect the game cord to the antenna game switch on the back of the set and to the master control unit. And plug the player control unit cords into their respective sockets on the master unit. And your Odyssey is ready to begin entertaining your family.
On September of 1972, history was made. The first commercial home video console was born, the Magnavox Odyssey. The credit goes to this man, Ralph H. Baer. At the time, the public knew him as the father of video games. Ralph worked on many different projects after the Odyssey, with over 150 patents in his name until his death in 2014. Even though Ralph got all the media attention and name recognition for being the father of video games at the time, there was another important person who made the world's first video game in a laboratory. This man never made a cent off his invention. Hardly anyone knew who he was, and it only took him 2 weeks to put all the pieces together. This man was William Higinbotham. In this video, I'll explain why he should be considered the father of video games and why William needs to get more credit and attention for his invention. Let's take a look back in the 1950s. How would you feel living in a suburban neighborhood, knowing that there is a nuclear reactor facility a few blocks down from where you live? Brookhaven National Laboratory in Long Island, New York is where Higinbotham worked from 1947 till his retirement in 1984. A lot of the residents that lived close to the laboratory felt nervous and expressed their concerns about having to live close to a facility that specializes in nuclear and high-energy physics. The solution to ease attention was to have the facility host an annual visitors' day so that the members of the community could go inside the laboratory and look for themselves on what kind of projects the scientists were working on. There were big machines, blinking lights, black and white photos explaining what different research projects were happening underway, and unfortunately the public found this totally boring. But in 1958, William Higinbotham decided to fix the boredom issue that the guests had. In the previous years, he saw the guests showing lack of interest with some of the exhibits inside the lab, so William wanted to create a hands-on display. Higinbotham was looking around the lab for spare parts. He found an oscilloscope. He also used an analog computer. Then he could just hook up the analog computer to the oscilloscope in such a way that a ball of light would bounce randomly around the screen. Higinbotham made a game which would have a ball bouncing back and forth, sort of like a tennis game viewed from the side. The game looked something like this. The premise of the game was simple. Two people play against one another using control boxes that had a serve button that hit the ball over the net, and a control knob that adjusted how high the ball was hit. And just as in real tennis, if you hit the ball into the net, it bounces back at you. Thus, the first game ever created in the world was called Tennis for Two. It only took 2 weeks for Higinbotham to put together the game. When it was time for the annual Visitors' Day at the lab, Higinbotham put it all on the table with a bunch of electrical equipment. It only took the visitors 5 minutes to find it. More and more people were taking interest in this device that they haven't seen before. As time passed, the line got longer and longer for people wanting to try out the Tennis for Two game. Some people were standing in line for more than an hour just to play the 2-minute game. By the end of Visitors' Day, the guests didn't learn much about the peaceful applications of nuclear energy, but they had a great time playing the first video game ever made. Tennis for Two was a big success. Higinbotham didn't see the significance of what he'd done. Here's what he said, and I quote, "The long line of people I thought wasn't because this was so great, but because all the rest of the things were so dull." So what happened after Visitors' Day in 1958? Well, Higinbotham made some minor improvements, and by the time it was Visitors' Day in 1959, Higinbotham was letting people play tennis for two at Earth's gravity or low gravity like the moon or very high gravity like Jupiter. After Visitors' Day was over, Higinbotham took the game apart and stored them away, never to be seen again. Higinbotham never built another video game after that. He didn't even patent his idea, which it wouldn't make sense for him to get a patent on Tennis for Two, since the government would have owned the patent. Higinbotham continued his work throughout the 60s in the laboratory, but something has changed in the early 1970s. During the 70s, video games are now just starting to take off into the market, and there were some manufacturers arguing in court over which one of them invented the games. Eventually, a patent lawyer for one of Magnavox competitors eventually learned of Higinbotham's story and brought the great man into court to prove that he, not Magnavox, was the true father of the video game. William Higinbotham died on November 10, 1994, right before the PlayStation got released in 1995 and Nintendo 64 in 1996. Higinbotham never made a penny off his invention, but his legacy will continue in the future forever.